everybody, on a busy Monday. Glad to have you with us here on NFL Live. We start with Adam Schefter and news on Matt Patricia this afternoon.
Well, Wendy, the league has determined that neither the Lions nor Matt Patricia will be subject to any discipline in regards to previous allegations against Detroit's head coach. The league met last week with the Lions and Patricia and said the Lions are not at fault for not learning about Patricia's previous arrest during the interview process, and Patricia would not be disciplined for not letting his arrest be known to the club. They believe that he will not be subject to the personal conduct policy because essentially the allegations occurred well before his affiliation with the NFL. The league met with the Lions last week, met with Patricia, did what it felt was a thorough and appropriate investigation into this affair, and essentially now says that neither side will face any discipline. Matt Patricia and the Detroit Lions can move forward.
Well, so after their due diligence, you can officially say the case is closed. Adam Schefter, Louis Riddick, Teddy Bruschi, I'm Wendy Nix. And it is, in fact, a busy Monday despite the offseason because OTAs are underway across the league. There is, however, a few missing faces in Foxborough, and we will start there. Both Tom Brady and Robert Gronkowski, a no-show today as New England began its OTA program. A reminder, these are voluntary. However, in the past, Brady has participated in the Patriots' voluntary OTAs and workouts. He has skipped all of the team's offensive program so far this season. Offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels noted a few weeks ago he would certainly like all of his players present, but understands Brady's decision because, again, these are voluntary. Adam Schefter, what to make of this?
Well, what's to make of it is the fact that what's interesting is that Brady's been a regular participant in OTAs in the third phase of the program in the past, and he has extolled the virtues of participating in the OTAs. And yet here they are, the Patriots, opening their organized team activities, and Tom Brady, the most important player on that team, is not there for the start of them. And obviously he enjoys training with his trainer, Alex Guerrero, who's had something of a falling out within the organization. Tom Brady now is into his 40s. He believes that what he has done has worked for him. He likes to do that. And obviously, Tom Brady has said, I'm going to get ready on my own, and has opted to stay away from the Patriots and their voluntary OTAs.
Teddy, you've been there both as a teammate of Tom Brady's, but also as a player who has to get himself ready for the season. Is this a big deal?
Well, I'll say this. It's a change, and it's different because Tom Brady's a rep guy, and he's a rep guy that likes to rep things out with his receivers, running intricate routes, breaking at the right time, timing. All of that is important to him. But Tom Brady's not the first to say, I'll be there when it's mandatory because I want to get my own body right the way that I know how. When you get up in your career, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 15 years, you have a formula, how you know that you are going to get ready and how it gets you best prepared. And if you feel like doing it on your own is better than doing it at the facility, Tom Brady wouldn't be the first to feel this. And obviously, like Adam is saying, Alex Guerrero does great things. I know Alex personally, so Tom decided to go that route.
So if it's not a big deal now, and I think we can, for the most part say it's not a huge deal, just to change, Louis, when does it become a bigger deal?
Well, it becomes a bigger deal if, Teddy alluded to, if you notice what he first said originally, look, Tom's a rep guy who likes to get in there and have the reps with his wide receivers because this is a very complex offense. When it becomes a big deal is if you see somewhere along the line, whether it be at mandatory training, mini camp, and then during training camp, if you start to see, I don't know, some kind of pattern where wide receivers and he are not on the same type of page, right? And it seems like the offense is kind of lagging a little bit and not as sharp as it would be early on in camp if maybe he had taken part all offseason. Because Bill has been known to say, and we all know, every year is different. Every year you start new. Although there's a lot of carryover for him and he knows this offense very well, there's always the fact of the matter that you have to get in sync with the rest of your football team year after year after year. So that's when it becomes a big deal if you see any kind of decline.
So I'll say this, it makes it harder for the offense of the New England Patriots to function in these type of practices because this time of year, from my experience, it's a big experimental phase. All right, let's try wide receiver X. Let's see if he can play in the slot. Let's see if Kenny Britt can do this. Let's see if Cordero Patterson can play this over here. Not having the quarterback that can handle all of that. I know Hoyer's a veteran quarterback, and he can handle it too. The rookie out of the LSU, he'll be behind. But having all of that change and all of that experimentation, you really can't do now because Brady's not there.
Brady's not there. The same can be said, as I mentioned before, about Rob Gronkowski. Anything additional there, Adam?
Listen, I don't think he's there today. Again, I don't think he's been spotted to the words of many so far. I think at some point we're going to see Rob Gronkowski in New England. I think that a lot of this is contract-based. And the truth of the matter is he cannot get a new contract until 1 year from the time that his previous contract was extended, which was a year ago this week, which I believe was May 24th. So once we get past there, the Patriots are eligible to restructure that contract if they so choose. And I think that might do something about getting Rob there. Remember, Gronkowski and the Patriots met shortly before the draft at that time, and they came to a common ground where essentially Rob Gronkowski said that he'd like to be there. They said they wanted him there, and they were going to work together moving forward. I think at some point we'll see Gronk. Just don't know exactly how soon that will be.
And with these two players, with Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, these are the two main issues for players in the offseason. It's either my contract or it's how I prepare my body. Don't mess with those two things, because those are the two things that if I need to leave and not be there, those are the two things I'll miss for myself, my preparation, physical preparation, or my money.
Understood. And in terms of physical preparation, it's really hard to argue with what Tom Brady has done at 40 years old last year, the oldest player in NFL history to win MVP honors. We continue now our all-access look at OTAs around the league. We travel now to the New York Giants, as he did earlier in the offseason for his team's voluntary workouts. Odell Beckham Jr. was on the field today, along with his teammates. Here's new head coach Pat Shurmur.
Odell here, number one, it's because he gets to, you can't fully compete yet, but he gets a chance to see it. And there's a lot to be learned by watching. And he looks good, and he's out here moving around. He's chomping at the bit, wanting to get out and do more than we're allowing him to at this point. But I think we're just trying to make sure that everything is healed to the fullest before we put him out there. He looks good.
Jordan Raanan is in East Rutherford. Jordan, how did Odell look today?
Yeah, when you see him running, you don't see any limp. I mean, they weren't running at 100%, probably about 70%, but he did a few individual drills. And you could see that, Odell Beckham looked a little bit like his old self. And there was even one point, Pat Shurmur went up to him after a couple individual drills, had to whisper something in his ear. Next thing you know, Beckham sort of stepped to the side. So you could tell they're holding him back a little bit, probably in part because they want to be careful with him and because he's not cleared so far.
Certainly understandable. So it begs the question, what's next in this process for both Beckham and the New York Giants?
Yeah, everything Beckham has done this spring has been with a purpose, right? He's been at OTAs, he's been at the start of minicamp, he's been to the start of the off-season workouts. So this is specifically designed for Beckham. He's looking for that new contract. We all know that. He wants a new contract. He wants to be paid accordingly to what he did before he was injured. Now, from what I've been told, there have been no serious negotiations yet. So he's waiting now. He's done his part this spring. Now he's waiting for the Giants to step up. And you have to note, there's a big difference between stepping on the field, rehabbing, working on the side, working individual drills during the spring, and getting on the field in the summer, in preseason games, in live conditions, where then he's putting himself at risk. So we're going to see where this goes moving forward, but it's a big deal that Odell's doing his part, and now he's waiting for the Giants, and we'll see where it moves from there.
Jordan, thank you. And I don't think there's any question that there's been an olive branch of sorts, if you will, by Odell Beckham Jr., Adam, but it's also clear he wants a new deal, and the Giants have played the wait-and-see game just a bit.
Well, listen, if you look at the wide receivers in his draft class, right? Sammy Watkins went number 4, new deal, over $16 million a year. Mike Evans, same draft class, new deal, just over $16 million again. We've got a case with Aaron Donald, same draft class. Hasn't shown up to the Rams OTAs today because he wants that new contract. So Odell not only has not gotten the new deal, but is at the Giants OTAs doing what he believes is the right thing right now in a good faith gesture to see if he could jumpstart talks between the two sides. Now, how long it stays peaceful, that remains to be seen as long as he goes unsigned, because I think that will be an issue that will rear itself at some point down the line. Tough to tell exactly when. But it will not be smooth sailing if Odell does not get that contract. I can promise you that.
Lewis, that's so true. It's not a problem until it is, and the clock is ticking. That we are fully aware of. When does this become an issue?
Well, it becomes an issue if and when Odell starts to miss games, and he's deemed healthy to play in games. And if he wound up extending his holdout past that kind of point, because there's no question about they are set up right now for success at the skill positions, whether, when you're talking about him, Evan Ingram, and Saquon Barkley. They've revamped the whole left side of their offensive line to the point where you could match up their offensive line if you projected to be Nate Solder and Will Hernandez starting at left tackle and left guard respectively with any offensive line in the NFL. So there's a lot of things right now that the coaching staff is optimistic about. But as we know, this is out of the coaching staff's hands. This is between Dave Gettleman and Odell Beckham and his management. And you do not want him to be missing football games. So really, that's when it matters, Wendy, when the regular season starts.
And you don't want him missing games when you don't appear to be missing a whole lot of pieces, at least offensively, Teddy. And I think you can say that in part after adding Saquon Barkley, certainly Nate Solder as well. But how important is adding Barkley to what Eli can do in these later years?
Barkley combined with, like Lou was saying, Solder and Will Hernandez. The fact that runner pass, he's a threat to do either on every single down. Eli Manning needs that type of threat, that type of pressure put on a defense. I don't think Eli is the type of guy that can do it all by himself. He needs a healthy Odell Beckham Jr. He needs Evan Ingram. And Saquon Barkley just sort of finishes the puzzle for him in terms of a running back that can take so much stress off of him, move the chains, catch it out of the backfield. This is going to be a special player, Wendy.
I think it's going to be a special player and a year that could be special in terms of bouncing back for the New York Giants after that debacle of last season. Look, these are OTAs. Important to point out once again, they are voluntary, but we still do a roll call of sorts. It's just the way it happens as you see who's there and who's not there. Let's get an update on some guys who are not. And we begin, Adam, with Julio Jones.
And not there in Atlanta, has 3 years left on his contract and wants a new deal. This is a tough situation because the Falcons have a lot of payers to play. They just paid Matt Ryan the richest deal for an NFL player. And would that be possible without the contributions of one Julio Jones? Tough to say that it would. So Julio believes he deserves more, but the Falcons believe he's got 3 years left. We'll let them sort that one out. That should be a lot of fun down the line. Aaron Donald staying away from the Rams OTAs. Now, the difference between this year and last year is he called the Rams this year. He spoke to Sean McVay. They had a good conversation last year. No communication between the two sides. So at least they're talking, and they're talking contract-wise as well, though they're not overly close to a new deal at this point in time, and Donald wants that big new contract. And we continue to wait to see whether Earl Thomas will be back in Seattle for the start of OTAs. He's missed their offseason program. Really shouldn't read very much into that at all. He's missed the offseason programs in other years as well. The sense is that he will not be there today. I don't believe that people think he will be there. But again, I don't think it's that big a deal in the case of Earl Thomas. They've talked about a new deal, and I don't think the Seahawks will trade him either. I think that window's kind of come and gone. Somebody would really have to pay them a lot of money, and nobody has gotten serious about a trade yet. So right now it looks like Earl Thomas is back in Seattle, even if he's not there today for the start of OTAs.
And again, these workouts voluntary. Still ahead, Aaron Rodgers wants to play until his 40s. Can he match the success of Tom Brady, or will Father Time take control? Over the weekend, some stars of the gridiron took their talents to the baseball diamond. Later, we reveal our all-NFL baseball team. And still to come, ladies and gentlemen, Baker Mayfield, a.k.a. the #1 overall pick in the draft, was asked about Josh Rosen's comments that implied the teams who drafted a quarterback before they drafted Rosen would ultimately regret it. Here's what he said.
To each their own. The fact that he can say there's 9 mistakes made ahead of him, how's he going to compare himself to a running back and linemen and defensive players that were picked in front of him? There's no comparison. I think everybody ended up where they're supposed to be. I mean, I get it. I get the competitive nature, but you don't want to be scripted like that.
Listen, in fairness, Rosen calmed down, clarified, said it wasn't the position players, it was just the quarterbacks they would regret. But fair enough.
The scripted line.
What's that?
Scripted, huh?
Scripted. He pulled it out. How about this? It's perfect for us, though, on Overreaction Monday. No, especially in the offseason. So here's where we'll start. How about this? The Browns will regret passing on Josh Rosen. Louis Riddick, is that an overreaction? I can't even believe I'm asking.
No, it's not an overreaction. Will they regret passing on him? No, that's not an overreaction. That they very well could regret passing on Josh Rosen. Why? Because, look, it's been said a lot that Josh is the most pro-ready. And I know that term gets blown way out of proportion at this point in time of the year. But when you watch the context with which Josh performed at UCLA, you can totally take it and kind of project it to the NFL level. The guy is very smart from a football intellect standpoint, has very good subtle movement in the pocket. And here's the thing, this offense in Arizona is set up to win in the middle of the field with guys like Larry Fitzgerald, David Johnson coming back, Christian Kirk, who they drafted from Texas A&M. These are all guys who work between the numbers. But if you've watched Josh's film at UCLA, he killed people between the numbers. He absolutely just took defenses apart. So I think there's a lot of things that are setting up for him to be strong right out of the gate. They're giving him a lot of responsibility, and all indications are he's tearing it up.
All right. Well, yeah, the early returns have been good, but they are early, so you think the Cardinals won't regret it. But I'm asking about the Browns. Will they regret passing on Josh Rosen?
That's not an overreaction because it's very possible that, like Lewis is saying, all of those factors, so much comes into play for successful young quarterback play. The coach to the quarterback relationship, the offensive line, the running game, sometimes how the defense plays on the other side, and also winning. What team can win more football games? So Josh Rosen, what you're hearing is that he's doing great things in camp right now. They like what they're seeing. He could. This isn't an overreaction that he could be Rookie of the Year. Who said Bradford goes down, he comes in, he has a great work. It's possible.
Yes, anything is possible, but
there's many people who are already kind of projecting that kind of thing, Teddy, and that it wouldn't even take for Sam to go down. Remember, we talked about this last week, that he may just win this job outright.
Right.
That's a different argument altogether. Absolutely. I mean, one we haven't previously entertained, but you're not usually my hyperbole guy. But
quarterbacks are hit or miss. You never know.
Well, yeah, fair enough. Rookie Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph has certainly heard from starting quarterback Ben Roethlisberger. He clearly understands his role, but he did have this to say about the way he is approaching his new job.
He texted me before rookie minicamp would have been last weekend before he started that up, and yeah, it meant a lot. He reached out. He said, "Wish me luck for rookie minicamp," and told me to just give my best, and he's looking forward to meeting me. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting Ben. Whatever that'll probably be this coming week, and do what I can to learn what I can from him and his unbelievable career and everything he does. Just the little nuances of his game, and like I said, just prepare as I'm the starter.
I like it. He reached out to say good luck after he said, "Don't take my job. Step back. I'm going to be here for quite some time." Yeah. Again, Overreaction Monday. Mason Rudolph, who you just heard from, will be the Steelers' Aaron Rodgers. And by that, I mean he'll sit, he'll learn, and then be the franchise guy in the long-term future. And, I don't know about that.
I'm going to call this a pump your brakes overreaction right here because this is just too much on the kid.
Rookie of the Year, man. Okay?
And I feel bad for Mason Rudolph because all of the attention came on him because of Ben Roethlisberger and what he said and how like the pressure he put on him. So now we want to know his reaction. So now everybody's going to be watching him so closely when this kid developmentally is probably so far from where Ben Roethlisberger is. And now we're putting, is he possible to be the Aaron Rodgers model? This is just an overreaction. This kid needs to just be quiet, disappear, and then just learn.
Which, in fairness, was probably what he was trying to do. And then Ben Roethlisberger makes those comments.
He didn't bring any of this on himself.
No, he didn't. And I think that's a distinction. Josh Rosen's in a different situation, but he said what he said and took responsibility for it. This kid's like, he said, what? Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's not an overreaction. Why? Because really, this is the one kid who is probably going to now, by virtue of the fact that his quarterback now really wants the spotlight on him, the guy who he's backing up. Ben doesn't want to go anywhere now. Ben's kind of had a fire lit underneath his you-know-what. Now he's sitting there going, no, I want to play 3 more years. I want to play 4 more years. Perfect, because that's exactly what Mason needs. Mason needs to sit and develop, work on his mechanics from under center, learn this offense and take his time. He is a tremendous talent from a physical skills point of view. But he needs time. And who's to say that 3 years from now, if Ben plays 3 or 4 more years, that Mason isn't ready and doesn't take off and doesn't have a great rapport with his offensive coordinator and Mike and the rest of Mike Tomlin, meaning the rest of this football team. You can't say really that he couldn't have this kind of career arc. We just don't know. And since it's Overreaction Monday, I'm going to say he's going to have it.
Listen,
and you're talking about how Ben Roethlisberger was sort of irritated how maybe I'm going to play 3 or 4.
It's not a bad thing necessarily.
It's just another little reason why they took Mason Rudolph too.
Sure. I agree. And you know what? There is a scenario here where this is good for the Steelers, this is good for Roethlisberger, and this is good for Mason Rudolph.
Absolutely.
I mean, maybe not, but it certainly you could see a situation where it works out well.
Yeah, I agree. I think everybody's going to win here.
Glass half, how do you say it? Glass half full on this Monday.
Randy.
I got it.
There you go.
Lamar Jackson, another rookie making his debut, and how about this? He took a shot at replicating Ravens Hall of Famer Ray Lewis's legendary entrance dance at the rookie premiere. And I will say, I think he did a pretty good job.
No, that's hard to replicate.
Well, it is, but it's not. It's pretty close.
He tried.
He tried. All right, A for effort. Aaron Rodgers, as we mentioned before, still a few years out, but can the Packers star quarterback find success into his 40s? Much like Tom Brady, we'll talk about whether he can sustain his performance the way the Patriots quarterback has been able to do. That's next.
About this show right now. He's jacked. He's pumped. He's ready to go.
I'm going with an overreaction here, Ted.
Of course you are.
18, right up for me.
Overreaction?
Overreaction. I am about the green.
I love Adam's face, though, when we tell him he's right.
Don't press send. I'm just saying, send it to your mama. She cares.
Oh, wow. I believe it's unfair of you to make a comparison between Kirk Cousins and Blake Bortles.
That was tailor-made for Overreaction Monday.
That's what Monday is about.
And on we go. Tom Brady, a no-show today as the Patriots began OTAs. In the past, the Patriots quarterback has participated in New England's voluntary organized team activities, but so far this offseason, he has skipped all of the team's offseason program. Nobody knows that better than Mike Reese, who's always there, who joins us this afternoon from Foxborough. And Mike, how does Brady's absence impact his teammates currently?
Well, Wendy, start with the leadership. We're talking about a 15-year Patriots captain, and you mentioned it. He's regularly been here for this voluntary off-season workouts, these OTAs, and really the culture here with the Patriots is that they have great attendance. Devin McCourty, a fellow captain, once said to me, when your best player is also your hardest worker, you can't help but follow suit. So the Patriots miss that, not having Brady here. And the second part, I'd take you back to 2015. I watched one of the OTAs, and I vividly remember Brady connecting with Dion Lewis. Now, at the time, Lewis had just signed a reserve futures contract. No one really knew what he could do. He hadn't done much in the league at that point. And I remember noting that Brady and Lewis seemed to be developing a little bit of a connection. And that's really what this time has been for the Patriots, to build a foundation going into training camp. So they won't have that. And I heard Teddy mention it earlier in the show. Players like Kenny Britt, Cordero Patterson, Jordan Matthews, receivers that haven't worked as much with Tom Brady, they'll miss that time with him in these OTAs.
Mike, thank you. And Teddy did make that point, because whether this is a big deal or not, what it is a departure from the norm, or at least what we've seen from Tom Brady in the past. So as we continue Overreaction Monday, this is the beginning of the end of the Patriot way. Is that an overreaction?
Well, I'll say overreaction. It's May. He's missing some workouts now. And the only thing this is a huge difference for in terms of Tom Brady is that he will not get his offseason award winner parking spot in the parking lot. That shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be parking front row anymore. I'm putting it out there. Put him in the back row, Coach Belichick. That's the biggest difference right now. But in terms of the Patriot way ending, Tom Brady's still going to be there when he has to be. They're going to see he's prepared and ready to go. And I think the players will realize this is a player that's 40 years old. He plays the quarterback position. There are certain players that get treated differently. Tom Brady's one of them.
He plays the quarterback position at arguably the highest level in the league, Lewis, and he knows certainly how to get his body ready. So is this an overreaction, or can we read into the fact that they'll have to do things differently?
No, I think it's an overreaction, because I believe, look, as great as Tom is, and Tom is great, Tom's probably the greatest quarterback to ever play in the NFL. The Patriot way, even so, I think I'm safe in saying this, Teddy, the Patriot way is even bigger than Tom Brady. It's about a culture that's been developed there from the very beginning that I think all the other players understand. I'm not Tom Brady. I can't do this kind of thing. I can't just stay away from OTAs if I want to play on this football team, given the mental demands this team places on you. I can't pull with, I'm not going to say Tom's pulling anything. I'm just saying you're not afforded the same kind of leeway. Look, I've been through off seasons with Bill. It wasn't the Patriot way. It was the Browns way at that point in time that was still developing. And I'll tell you this, the man demands a lot from you at all times of the year when it comes time to playing football. And I think that's something that will maintain itself through when Bill leaves. I think it's just a way that has been ingrained into the culture there that will always be the case there, no matter who comes and who goes. And I think it's bigger than Tom, as crazy as that may be, to say.
The beginning of the end of the Patriot way is when Tom Brady and Bill Belichick leave the current jobs that they're in. That's the beginning of the end. And then there'll be a new way with Josh McDaniels or whoever else they decide to bring in. But to say that right now would be an overreaction. They still have Tom Brady. He's going to be back. He's going to play this season. We know that right now. We know Bill Belichick's going to be back. And we know that the Patriot ways will live on as long as the two of them are there. Maybe it will not be perfectly symmetrical. Maybe it will not be perfectly harmonious. But together it will go on. they will be the Patriots. They're still the overwhelming favorite in the AFC East. They're probably the favorite in the AFC. So is it the beginning of the end when they're still in those categories as potent and as dangerous as the Patriots are today? I don't think so.
And it's been done before where players just mandatory minicamp and training camp, I'll see you there. Richard Seymour at times, Ty Law at certain times when I was there. Players that you look around, you notice they're not there, but you know they're going to be ready. Tom's in that category. Gronkowski is in that category also.
And he'll get more walking going from the back of the parking lot to the
more exercise.
He needs a little exercise.
Exactly.
Look,
back row.
I think it's fair to say
Hoyer's getting it for quarterbacks.
We all do things different at 40 than we did at 30. You hope anyway, and that can be said of Tom Brady too. Aaron Rodgers recently spoke about his future. It's sustained greatness, I think, is what drives me. It's to be the best and to be able to choose when I'm done playing. So that's kind of my goal, is to be able to be indispensable to this organization into my 40s to where you've got to keep me around. I think that's probably every player's goal, to be able to go out on your own terms. Not everyone is so lucky. But Tom Brady looks like he's on his way again, sustaining that production at 40, almost 41. So this for Overreaction Monday. Aaron Rodgers will be better than Tom Brady at 40, Shefty.
Well, I would say this. The first thing that struck me as he said that was he is entering a contract negotiation this offseason. And not that he needs any added leverage, but why not say,
I want to play till I'm 50.
I want to play till I'm well into my 40s, because that way you can ask for even more money than you're already entitled when you're about to become the highest paid player in NFL history. Anyway, saying that, I think we've seen that the bar continues to get pushed. And I think we see players playing longer, particularly at the quarterback position. And who knows, if Aaron Rodgers subscribes to the TB12 method, I don't doubt that he can't go into his 40s and play that late. So I'd say it's not an overreaction to say that he'll be better than Tom Brady at 40 or playing into his 40s. Again, that's asking an awful lot, because Tom Brady's playing at an MVP level. But look, we're in a new day and age where there's better nutrition, better sleep. We know more about our bodies, our training methods. So if we're improving that all the time, and science does get better every day, why can't Aaron Rodgers keep playing into his 40s at a high level?
Well, I'm going to say it's an overreaction, only because there's a number of different ways to define better. I mean, does it mean individually as far as statistics are concerned, or are you going to get your football team to Super Bowls and be a play away or a series away from winning it? I mean, that's one thing. Two, I think they play totally different styles. I think, look, Aaron plays at a style that is much more dynamic, much more risk-taking, much more outside of the pocket, subjecting himself to big hits. So there's a lot of things that could affect his performance in the future relative to what his health is going to be. And this is not to say in any way, shape, or form that if Aaron stays healthy and his football team is good around him, he could be great. He could be the best quarterback of all time. I just think there's maybe some things to kind of throw it into question. And for the sake of argument, I can't just agree with y'all, so it's an overreaction.
At the end of the day, there's that.
Contrarian Lou.
Yeah. I'll say not an overreaction, because is it possible, in my opinion, that Aaron Rodgers can win an MVP like Brady did when he's 40 years old? I think it's possible. And Lewis is right. I mean, he plays different than Tom does. I mean, he moves around. He trusts his athleticism so much. But I think he learned a lesson last year. I think he learned a lesson that when an Anthony Barr fell on my shoulder and I snapped my collarbone, I'm not indestructible. And I need to learn, if I want to last and play into my 40s, to not hold it too long, not take too many chances. And when those big guys get close, get rid of it. Not try to play hero ball. So I think he's a smart guy. He'll understand that. He'll understand how he's not immortal after that broken collarbone, and he missed 7 games last year, and he can get to that 40 age plateau and still play at a very high level.
Again, we talk about evolution. Your game is different at 30, 35, and 40, and he's seeing that as well.
I don't know about that. I'm not 40 yet.
Well, when you get there,
Yeah,
let us
sure.
know.
You guys
Lewis.
can talk about
Yeah,
that.
listen.
As the youngster on the set.
Yeah, yeah.
Please.
Okay. Anyway, still to come. Well, this guy is a youngster. Saquon Barkley has set the bar high. We'll tell you how he got there next.
Saquon Barkley's don't come around very.
In the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Saquon Barkley, running back, Penn State.
Going back to where he came from in the 2nd overall pick, Saquon Barkley is ready to run the rock for the New York Giants.
The Giants opened OTAs today, which gives their first-round draft pick Saquon Barkley an opportunity to practice with veterans for the first time. Barkley was called a generational-type player during the draft process. GM Dave Gettleman said a number 2 pick should be worthy of a shrine in Canton. So the expectations are high, but none higher than the ones Barkley has placed on himself. Jen Lotto looks back at what's made the running back the player and person he is.
Look out! Saquon Barkley! Can he go the distance? Yes, he can!
I want to go down as one of the best running backs to ever play at Penn State.
Barkley trying to bounce it. And does escape. Saquon Barkley in the clear.
He was blessed with unbelievable talent.
Still going. Saquon Barkley all the way to the end zone. Electric.
He's the best football player I've ever seen.
When Saquon Barkley scored 3 touchdowns in the 2017 Rose Bowl, everything around him, the attention, the expectation, even the Heisman hype grew. And yet, the junior running back's ego never did.
We call him the humble superstar. I don't see it being humble. I just see it being who I am and how am I supposed to be. And I don't really see myself as a superstar. You know, having all the accolades and all the success that he's having on the field, he's still the same person off the field. My dad and my mom always told me you can do anything you put your mind to, and as long as you have hard work, nothing's gonna come easy, nothing's gonna give handed to you, but if you work for it, anything's possible.
Saquon Barkley leaps, elevates, that's a Penn State touchdown.
And I take that to football field, you kind of feel unstoppable.
Today, he is one of the biggest names in the sport. But early in his career at Whitehall High School in Pennsylvania, he questioned his future in football.
I was like real small. I was like 5'7", 155 going to my sophomore year. Everyone would start growing, I would just stay in the same size. Couldn't just rely on natural talent anymore.
When he couldn't lift or do some things that the older kids could or some of his peers could, he'd get frustrated. And his way of handling it was maybe just to step away from it. I explained to him that this is what you need to do. You know, you need to have some confidence in yourself, get in the weight room, you know, work a little bit harder, and he jumped on that.
The address of the weight room has changed, but Saquon's commitment to getting bigger and stronger has not.
Coming in my freshman year, I looked at the running back board and I said before I leave this place, I want every single top category in running back. I was able to do that in like a couple months.
He's just a freak. We came in as freshmen and like pretty much lifted the same weights, and then all of a sudden, like the next winter, he was just going like 30, 40, 50 pounds over me and everything. He's just a different breed.
You know, if you look at the 225 bench press, I want to say he did 33 reps the other day in our workout, and when we tested, he did 31, and he was disappointed because it was a bad day because he's done 33 before.
I'd use that to like motivate me to when times are getting rough in the field. You feel like your body's banged up and you're going to the fourth corner, and you got to find that way. You got to find that will.
Barkley looking for the edge into the end zone. Touchdown, Penn State.
Saquon Barkley's don't come around very often. I've been doing this for 23 years at every level. I've never seen anybody like him.
Well, again, the Giants continue OTAs on the field this afternoon as Saquon Barkley is there. He was there for rookie minicamp as well, but today the first opportunity, Lewis, to work out with these veterans and for them to see the guy they've talked about. But here's what he said about Eli Manning.
It's been amazing. Obviously, he's a great guy. He's a great quarterback, but he's so knowledgeable about the game. He knows every single where you're supposed to be, where everyone's supposed to be. Literally, he can look this way, and if this guy ran a wrong route, he knows that guy he already ran a wrong route. So I continue to just learn from him every single day and ask a lot of questions. I think I'm probably annoying to him a little bit, but I continue to ask him a lot of questions, and I just want to try to expand on my knowledge of the game because that's gonna make me a better player. And if I could continue to grow as a better player, and I'll continue to help the team.
Well, he's kidding, of course, but what a great player to learn from. Eli Manning, Saquon Barkley, certainly phenomenally talented, but he is a rookie, Teddy. You've seen that learning curve before. How important will it be for those two to get in sync?
It'll be important, Wendy. I mean, it's not like he's playing receiver, though. He's going to have a simplified route tree in terms of a running back out of the backfield, maybe line up in the slot a couple times. But right now, in terms of where they are, in terms of month of May and these workouts like this, usually I remember being on the defensive side of the ball, and when you see an exceptional offensive talent, you can tell right away. You can tell, and I'm sure a lot of these Giants defenders are seeing with him when you start hearing them talk about him, change of direction, how his transition from catching the ball to getting upfield, those type of things, the way he hits holes. You can't hit him, but you can see him. You can see his thought process and his movement. You can tell if he's going to be a star right away.
You agree, Lewis, that you can identify something special about a player that quickly?
Absolutely, especially when Teddy's talking about movement patterns. When you're running next to somebody like that, or say as a linebacker or as a down safety, and you're coming down the cover, and you kind of see, like you're taking an angle and you're going, oh boy, that's not the right angle because he's running away from me right now. Right. And you can just tell. You can tell even without hitting somebody whether or not that's going to be something where you're going to have to tighten that chin strap a little bit tighter. And Saquon, look, those weights that you saw, look, that's just not weight room strength. This kid can bring it. And there's no question. Veterans automatically realize that when it comes time to strap it up during training camp, there'll be some people trying to put something on him, though. That's for sure.
Well,
and see what he's got. And he'll deliver, Wendy. He'll deliver. There's no question about that.
Listen, we know last year was an aberration of sorts for the Giants, or at least they certainly hope so. Do you feel like, Adam, this team is closer, this 2018 team will be closer to the 2016 Giants or what we saw last year?
Well, I don't think this team was as bad as its record last year. You saw the vibes that it had with the coaching staff, the front office. The Giants made significant changes there. They lost Odell Beckham Jr. in the 5th game of the season. He's back. They draft Saquon Barkley. Evan Ingram, the explosive tight end who was a first-round pick a year ago, he comes back. And I think that Ingram, Beckham, and Barkley potentially could be their form of the triplets in New York. We saw triplets in this division back in Dallas, and teams that come up with combinations like that become very dangerous. And again, there's no reason that each of those three players can't be a superstar in his own right. Beckham, Barkley, and Ingram.
Listen, that's all good news for Eli Manning. There's no question about that. So speaking of Odell Beckham Jr., he is putting in the work at OTAs. As we told you earlier, he was present and accounted for, but he's also been taking his talents to the baseball field. That's straight ahead, and we'll see how he fared next.
Today that neither the Lions nor Matt Patricia will be subject to discipline for his previous arrest back 22 years ago from a spring break on Padre Island in Texas. The league met with Patricia and the Lions last week and felt that his conduct, whatever happened back then, is not subject to the personal conduct policy because it occurred such a long time ago, before the policy was even in place, before Matt Patricia was even working in the NFL. And the Lions also, according to the NFL, basically followed the proper hiring practices. And so there will be no discipline for the Lions and no discipline for Matt Patricia.
Well, Shefty, it's good to hear that Matt Patricia and the Lions can now move on to next season, hopefully, and having spent a lot of time, many years around Matt Patricia when he was with New England as an offensive line assistant, to the linebacker coach, to the defensive coordinator. The Detroit Lion fans, all of you, you're getting a great coach and a great man in Matt Patricia, someone that helped me become a good player, someone that was, when you have a head coach like Bill Belichick and he's not the most personable when you're a player, you got to have coaches that you develop relationships with, and Matt Patricia is one of the coaches that kept the team together.
Well, the NFL owners convened this week in Atlanta for the annual league meetings, and this week could end with a pair of rule changes, a new owner, and potentially a new draft site. Here, however, the commissioner's statement on sports betting in light of recent changes. We have spent considerable time planning for the potential of broadly legalized sports gambling and are prepared to address these changes in a thoughtful and comprehensive way, including substantial education and compliance training for our clubs, players, employees, and partners. These efforts include supporting common sense legislation that protect our players, coaches, and fans and maintain public confidence in our games. We are asking Congress to enact uniform standards for states that choose to legalize sports betting. With that, we'll welcome in Dan Graziano, who's covering these meetings. And Dan, the Supreme Court's ruling on gambling, also a topic that will be discussed this week. What else is on the agenda?
Well, Wendy, you mentioned those two rule changes, the new rule about leading with the helmet, lowering the helmet to initiate contact, and then a rule that will change the way teams are allowed to line up on kickoffs. These are player safety rules. I'm told not a lot of opposition is expected because the owners spent some time over the last couple of months consulting with coaches to try and make sure these rules were put into place in a way that made sense. They feel good about where they are with the kickoff, for instance, right now, even if long-term some people still admit that maybe it's too unsafe a play to have in the game. And then a little bit of a surprise today, Wendy. On Wednesday, they're going to vote on two more Super Bowl sites, Super Bowl 57 and 58 in the years 2023 and 2024, likely to be awarded to Phoenix, Arizona, and New Orleans, Louisiana, respectively. Those are the only two sites that are submitting bids and presentations on Wednesday for those two Super Bowls. So unless something gets messed up between now and then, they should be approved.
Dan, thank you. Back here, we continue Overreaction Monday, and you heard Dan reference the new helmet rule. We've talked a lot about it because it changes a lot of things. So I'll say this. The helmet rule will be the new catch rule. Is that an overreaction or not an overreaction to say that we're going to see some ambiguity that will lead to issues, Teddy?
I'm going to say it's overreaction because I'm hoping that the officials on site and the league gets this clear the first time, because when a player lowers his head to make a tackle at the knee area, the chest area, or the head area, I'm hoping we can differentiate that. I know the catch rule was very complicated, and I don't know if we ever got a good grasp on what a catch was. Maybe, hopefully, we have a better grasp of it next season. But this lowering of the head to see the top of the helmet, I am hoping that it's easy for the league and officials to see and to differentiate.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's not an overreaction, that it could be the new catch rule because of the speed of the game, because of the fact that, look, I want to have confidence over the fact that there will be very, very much so in black and white and ironclad as to how this needs to be officiated and how it needs to be administered on the football field. I'm just not necessarily confident in that it's going to be, but I'm hopeful. And I'll tell you this, look, there's going to be some times here where I'm just wondering if the caliber of the player affects whether or not the rule is implemented the same way, the enormity of the game in the playoffs, if you have a star player and he's subject to maybe getting kicked out of the football game. I just hope that there really are no problems with this, because safety is what we're talking about here. We're trying to keep players safe and we're trying to protect players long term. But there's a lot of things I'm just hoping they can get ironed out so there is none of this discussion about, man, is this another catch rule?
And there is a lot of ambiguity right now. And I can tell you this, teams, players, coaches, concerned, seeking explanations. So I would say that the potential exists for this to be another catch rule, and it's up to the league to explain to the teams, to the players, exactly what it is looking for.
That's the thing,
to go through the facilities this summer. They've already begun doing that, I believe, so that everybody's clear exactly what is and isn't a penalty, what you can and can't do. Otherwise, it is going to be another catch rule, because there are plays like this every single play of the game.
I mean, you're right. Now is the time, Adam, because that will be difficult once the season begins. Once we get into September, it will be too late to clarify, or it will be much more difficult to clarify.
You know what? I'll say this. Once the rule came out years ago about lowering the target level of where it was legal to hit the head and neck area, all of that, it did take a little while for players to understand. Where can I hit? What happens when that offensive player drops his hips and he's lower, the target area is now lower. So this can, I'm hoping Adam's right, that they make this clear for the players first, because if the players don't understand it on the field, that's when the catch rule effect comes into play.
Well, still to come, we might have some two-sport athletes in the end. Wide receiver Odell Beckham took batting practice on Friday. This is at Angel Stadium as he crushes one out to left center into the waterfall there. And Pat Mahomes threw out the first pitch at the Royals game on Friday. Don't forget, his dad played 11 years in the majors as a relief pitcher. The Chiefs quarterback once struck out 16 in a high school game. It is in his genes. So too is football, apparently. The future bright for Mahomes and the Chiefs. All right, look, it's May. They gave us the obvious segue, so how about our all NFL baseball team?
All NFL baseball team.
We starting at catcher, pitcher?
I think we should start at pitcher.
Absolutely. All right, start on the mound.
Teddy? We think, what do you guys think about Jameis Winston at pitcher?
He brought it at Florida State.
Okay.
I like it.
Got a history here, which Look, Jameis Winston as a pitcher at Florida State.
Hey, I'm liking it. You see it right there? I don't know the difference between a fastball and a slider and a.
You can't? You can't. Oh, come on.
I don't know.
Well, you can't see it.
I know this.
So
It looks like it's coming pretty quick, though. I know that.
92, maybe 90.
Man.
All right.
I
How
love that.
about we need a big man behind the
We
plate.
need a big man,
We need a
right?
big man. Oh, we got a big man.
Big man,
If you go Vince
got
Wilfork.
skills. Vince Wilfork,
All right.
backstop.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, he
is
can
not-
just block it.
Hey,
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
right.
getting past him.
Who needs a catcher's mitt?
Listen,
Look
at this. I mean, stop it right now.
And he'll bring the
I love
bat,
it.
too.
And maybe wear the overalls. I'm not. Oh, good grief. I mean, you can't unsee this.
He's got a good
Although I
eye.
do
You see
love
that?
Vince.
See him let that go?
I
See him
do love Vince
Didn't get
Wilfork.
distracted by the kid falling in the
Listen.
grass over there?
You know what?
Oh.
He looks like a catcher, right? No, there'll be no pass balls with him.
He's also on the all-fun team, Vince and his wife. I mean, they have a lot of fun. So that's
got a nice little swing, though.
No, not bad.
He's a great
All right, let's
athlete.
move to first base.
First base, we're
Yeah.
going J.J. Watt.
Now, why J.J. Watt at first?
Big guy, first base.
I mean,
Looks like a first baseman,
Long,
right?
you know,
Guys,
long
what's a first
reach. You know,
baseman
think,
look
think
like?
about Mark McGuire.
You can get the
right?
stretch.
Yeah,
Didn't
exactly.
McGuire play first base?
Well, he's got to swing too.
There we go.
So-
He looks like a Bash brother, right?
There you go. There he does.
He's got
And
the forearm.
doesn't he have a celebrity softball game every year for
Pulling
raise
at the
money?
left
And
field.
doesn't he hit home runs like that?
I guess. I think I might have made that
and
up.
isn't
but-
Houston the home of the world champions in baseball? Yeah. And could
Okay.
J.J. Watt play for our baseball team?
Yeah,
Do that? Yeah, he could
that's
play.
right. All right, second base.
Second base, we need some skill at
You
second
need-
base and an
I like
arm,
this.
right,
You need
guys?
an arm.
What do you guys
And
think?
Aaron Rodgers certainly has
Actually,
one.
you need good hand-eye coordination. Ball get on you quick. Boom, get it over
Okay,
the first.
boom.
I like that.
Just
I
you
like
do?
that right there. Yeah.
All right.
I couldn't play infield very well though. I was scared of the ball. So that's
Wait,
a good
scared
hit right
of the
there
ball.
too. Yeah, you know what? I didn't like the ball coming at me like that.
Although
I like
he-
playing in the outfield, Wendy. I was an outfielder type.
Is that right? All right. Listen, shortstop. Not every single one of these guys got a decent swing. I guess they're athletes. That works.
yeah.
What do you think of that, Wendy?
This one just
right
makes
there?
sense right there.
Ooh, well, obviously
makes
that
sense.
makes
He's
a
got
lot of
he's got the
sense.
Yankees
He's got the-
pedigree.
Hey, he's got
Well,
good.
he's in the organization.
Texas
shall we
Rangers,
say.
right? He's played at a bunch of
Yeah.
spring trainings. He's been drafted.
We could probably put him at a number of positions.
That's a superstar
That's
spot.
it.
He's got
That's
good
an
Drafted by
easy
two
one.
major league teams,
Yeah.
the Orioles and the Rockies.
Okay.
Look at him
Where are we
zing.
going? Third?
There we go.
We're going third base,
Oh, we're going another
and
QB, are we?
we're going Patty Cakes.
We
right
need
there.
some.
Boom.
We're gonna have some arms on this team.
Well, a lot
Good
of
luck
arms to
stealing.
make the cross diamond
That's
throws,
right.
Wendy.
I know. I see that.
And we see him on the mound there, but he's going to be making those throws from the hot corner.
Everybody just
Yeah.
remember this
Can he
name
get his
for
hair under that helmet? I
2018.
guess so.
Ferrari Pat, Ferrari Red.
All right, Shefty, you can take over here. You doing left field?
Yeah, in left field, I'll have Teddy do it. Left field,
Okay.
we're gonna put Colin Kaepernick, and we're gonna put.
Oh, you know what?
Wait, we got Beckham.
Well-
you got Beckham for there, Teddy. What's the deal? There's
baby.
Kaepernick.
All right, here we go. Sorry.
Kaepernick
Sorry,
in left
Odell.
field.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
Okay.
why. Because he's a great athlete. I want him on my team. Okay, he's got a big arm to make the throws from the outfield.
Did you see
that?
Also coming to
Not a
left
bad
field.
ball.
Hey, had a little movement on it too. Watch it. Watch.
Selected by the Cubs in the 43rd round, 2 no-hitters. I want the guy on my team, and when we put him in left field, we're not getting deposed to talk about why he's not on our team.
That's right. Fair enough. We don't have an issue because he's there.
Exactly. He's on our team. We're good.
Yeah. See?
Not
Take
being
that,
blackballed
Shefty.
from our team.
Sign him up.
Okay,
Center
who
field.
we got?
Lou. Bam.
Oh,
Odell
Beckham
Beckham Jr.
But now
Jr.
that's an interesting choice.
Well, you know what?
Well, I
He's
guess he
got
can run down that
tremendous
ball.
range. He's got tremendous.
But what
I mean,
about the
tremendous-
arm?
Big
Well,
arm. Big arm.
Okay, big
That's
arm.
not too bad right there.
Because he's going to need it on
Okay,
occasion.
Is it something he can't do?
Is that a softball?
I don't know, but whatever it is, it's getting there in a hurry.
Well, okay.
Got the cutout jeans
Throw.
and stuff too.
He's a 5-tool player.
Hey,
Look at you with your draft.
I made the All-Star team.
Look, we got to
Little
put a
League
rookie in
center
our
field.
outfield, huh?
And let's put the rookie there. Hayden
Rookie.
Hurst.
He can't pitch,
Doesn't he
but
have
he can
enough
throw.
to learn right
Hey,
now, though? I
I'm
feel
telling
like
you
it's
this right
dicey.
now. Hayden Hurst can throw that thing.
Well,
Yeah, this guy had, he had like an almost 100-mile-an-hour fastball coming
good
out.
grief.
Got a $400,000 bonus coming out.
There he did.
But then he got the yips.
Yeah, it happens.
Oh.
It happens. I may have got a case of mine too in the Little League. I couldn't hit anything either. I'll tell you
Listen.
this.
And
He's
if we
going
need
to
another
catch a
pitcher,
lot of
he'll-
touchdowns
No,
this year.
you know what?
He'll
I
catch
just
a
want
lot of
I just want
touchdowns.
one guy. I just want one guy. I'm just taking he's going to play every position.
You want Vince?
Vince Wilfork. I'm going to put him in 9 times, and he's just going to be Vince Wilfork at that ball. Look, I just can't get enough of this.
V-Dub will get it
I
done.
mean, he will, right?
I want to see you wear overalls
Did you wear
to work,
that
Wendy, one
outfit?
day. When you got to wear overalls to
I'll
work.
wear overalls.
NFL Live, yeah.
Yeah, why not? You know,
Can have fun.
Teddy will. I will.
What do you think, Teddy?
Yeah, look, I don't think
I'm
that's
not wearing those
You
overalls,
know?
Wendy.
Let's see Theo Epstein put together a team like that.
Yeah, good luck.
I think he might be able
Would that
to.
be
Yeah,
under the
He's
salary
got a little
cap?
history.
I'm not really left.
No, it's expensive, this team of ours, but we can pay what we
Just
want
watch
to pay.
Teddy's head on the
Next on
backswing.
NFL Live, Julio Jones absent for the start of OTAs. Speaking of big money, 3 years left on his deal. We'll talk about what's next for the Falcons. A lot of new faces in new places, none more so than the LA Rams as we go inside the headlines because there's one notable name who's yet to be paid. We will start with this from ESPN.com. Aaron Donald informs the Rams he will not attend voluntary OTAs. Hello from the Verizon Film Room. Adam, what is the latest with the Rams and potential negotiations with Aaron Donald?
Well, listen, I think the Rams are smart in how they're going about this because they recognize that there's a financial pecking order there in L.A. You can't pay Brandon Cooks before you pay Aaron Donald. Issue is out there they've given out some big money. Ndamukong Suh got paid this offseason. There'll be other players that do get paid, but I think that their focus is to try to get a deal done with Aaron Donald. There have been talks, Wendy, minimal talks. They have not progressed very much at all. They're not much closer to a deal right now than they were for the previous weeks and months, but they want to get it done. It's a priority for them. It's a priority for Aaron Donald. They know how good he is. I think they'll get something done by the start of training camp or the season at some point this summer, but there's still work to be done in that negotiation.
Well, and you made an important distinction earlier that at least this time around, Aaron Donald has spoken to the team.
Correct.
There's been some communication. He was, he said, hey, listen, I'm not going to be there. Here's why, Teddy.
Well, I think this is the first time I've thought or felt that a player getting a deal, it really will correlate with the success of the team.
Well,
and I'm saying that with I'm saying that with Aaron Donald because he's the one mainstay on defense. He's the best player that they have. He's the Los Angeles Ram from when they drafted him back when they were in St. Louis. He's the one. You bring all of these other pieces that maybe have their own motivations or maybe are on one-year deals. When things go bad, usually that force, that one person that's there, that leader, Aaron Donald, is the one that keeps it all together. If his motivation isn't there to do that because he doesn't feel like the organization has been loyal to him, things can fall apart. That's why I say get this deal done and this successful playoff championship run by the Los Angeles Rams then can start. It won't start for me until Aaron Donald gets his deal.
Because he is the best player on that team, maybe the most respected guy in that locker room, and so other players are going to pay attention. But the Rams know what they have. He's a Hall of Fame type of talent with a real chance to wind up one day in Canton, Ohio, if he continues to play at the level he has. He's their best player. Todd Gurley wants a contract. Brandon Cooks wants a contract. Marcus Peters wants a contract. But I think the Rams know they have to go to Aaron Donald first.
One at a time, one step at a time. We continue now with ESPN.com. Our headline, Julio Jones not present for the start of Falcons OTAs. And this is really interesting, Adam, because it seems you could argue that it's too early for Julio to be asking for an extension. Is it with 3 years left?
Wendy, I would never argue that it's too early for any player to ask for a contract extension, particularly one as good as Julio Jones, even if he's got 3 years left. Now, whether the team actually gives it to him is a whole other issue because he has the 3 years left and because they paid him already twice, by the way. They paid him when he was drafted high and again when he was rewarded with an extension. Now, remember, he was the first member of the rookie class that was part of the new CBA that basically limited rookie salaries. And he's not going to get to play at a high level for a whole long time, so he should try to get whatever he can, whenever he can. I'm all for that. But on the other hand, he sacrificed some of those years when he took that money on the last contract renegotiation.
I'm a former player, and I agree that players should get paid. Players should get all their money that they can, whenever they can. I'm going to put that GM hat on right now there.
Fair enough.
It'd be bad business to do this.
Hat.
It'd be bad business to do this. 3 years left on a contract. The upper management of the Falcons, Dimitroff, Pioli, whoever it may be, you've got to think that you set this precedent. I mean, you're going to have a lot of young defensive players that are up and coming that you drafted, the Deion Jones, the Keanu O'Neals, the Vic Beasleys, those type of players on defense. 3 years left is hard to justify to get this contract done.
And you know what? New England was in a situation like this with Gronkowski last year. And what it did was it added incentives to his contract that if you play at a certain level, you'll be rewarded at a certain level. And now that meant essentially they had to wait a full year till he got his next contract. So now here we are, almost back on the clock for Rob Gronkowski. Maybe the Falcons do the same for Julio.
Maybe it's crazy how different your perspective can be from player to GM. Two very
different hats,
two very different hats. From the Star Telegram, our headline reading: Cowboys Terrence Williams addresses arrest and a car accident in the following statement. I live right near where the accident occurred, so my neighbor dropped me off and I called the tow truck and took the scooter from my house to go meet the tow truck driver. The police officer, who I've met in the past in the neighborhood, saw me on the scooter, arrested me without performing any sobriety test. I've always been an upstanding citizen and handled the situation the best way I know how. I apologize if I should have handled it a bit differently. Shefty, what do the Cowboys and/or the league have to say at this point?
Well, the leaguers are going to look into this, and he's going to be subject to discipline, and the Cowboys can't be particularly pleased about this. Already he was missing the offseason due to an injury. Then, obviously, he's arrested early Saturday for public intoxication, investigated for fleeing the scene of an accident. That's not what you want in an offseason where you're trying to replace Dez Bryant and Jason Witten, two productive pass-catching receivers for the Cowboys. There's a real opportunity there. But when you do things like this and you put yourself in jeopardy,
certain things are said to you, Wendy, directly with words from your coaching staff or indirectly through actions. Indirectly, we get rid of Dez Bryant. We're looking at you, Terrence Williams. We think you need to have more on your plate. We need you to set the example. We need more production from you. You should be looking forward to having a good year this coming season. Now this comes and you sort of let the coaching staff down, whether they told him or indirectly. He just figured it out from Dez Bryant. But this is not what you're looking for in terms of when the number one's gone, you are potentially up in production, up in numbers, and then you let you.
Hey there, Kevin Nagani with you. Coming up on SportsCenter after PTI. We're live from Cleveland as LeBron's Cavs try to even the series against the Celtics. Odell shows up, but Brady, Julio, and Donald don't at OTAs. Is this a big deal? Adam Schefter and Louis Riddick weigh in after PTI.
Well, it must be the offseason. Here's what Steven Jackson has to say. Sometimes I talk to current fans here in L.A., and there's an argument of who's the greatest running back in Rams history. To be a Ram, I think it's me. He has a case. He stands as the Rams' all-time leader in rushing yards, ahead of some Hall of Famers, Eric Dickerson, Marshall Faulk. Jackson nearly 2,900 more yards ahead of Eric Dickerson on this list. But let's see how he stacks up, shall we? We'll take a look.
Let's go.
Steven Jackson versus Eric Dickerson. The dump off to Jackson spins away.
All right, that's nice.
2 tackles, a 50-yard gain here. So, listen.
He was a beast. I'll give him that. He was a beast. He could catch it out of the backfield. He could run it
1, 2. I'm going to really count 3 there.
Great player.
All right.
Steven Jackson was a great
given that angle
yes.
right there, though, Eric would have taken that to the house.
Well, all right, here's Eric Dickerson. Takes the whole pitch left, cuts back, finds a hole. Well, this is exactly what you're talking about.
Eric Dickerson's the Hall of Fame.
Yes, Eric Dickerson is in the Hall of Fame. That is absolutely true.
Is that the prettiest thing you've ever seen?
Eric Dickerson has a 2,000-yard season to his name, correct?
Seriously, that is so pretty. It's like he's not even trying.
All right, here we go. Steven Jackson versus Marshall Faulk. Another big name. Jackson runs into the pile here, but somehow escapes. You know, we're not arguing here. This is a 54-yard pickup before he's finally brought down.
He's a man.
It's a tough run.
Yeah.
No one's arguing that, I don't think.
He's just firing jabs on that DB.
But Marshall's in the Hall of Fame. And Marshall is about as smart as any running back who ever played the position. And Marshall had moves and speed and elusiveness like this.
Like this. It's
My kids would say that's lit right there.
Lit? Is that what the kids say? That's lit.
That's what Teddy says too.
Oh, well, Teddy's a kid. Oh. All right, that's lit.
Lose the kid on the set, the young guy.
All right, current regime. Todd Gurley in the conversation, perhaps. Jared Goff. Lewis knows Jared Goff. Dumps it off to Gurley. Turns up the field. The hurdle in the highlight.
Linebacker has no chance.
So
the body of work is not as extensive as Steven Jackson, but the talent is there to be as good as any of these other backs.
Listen, that's confidence to say the best back in Rams history, but he's got some stiff competition.
Well, the totals, he's got the rushing yard totals, right?
Yeah, he does. The numbers are relatively in his camp. That's true.
Gurley?
Didn't we do a show called Numbers? Wait, no, that was Numbers Never Lie.
I mean, There's a good bunch of great players in the NFL who don't have necessarily great numbers, but are great players.
Steven Jackson was a great player. Let me ask you this question, though. Is Steven Jackson going to be in Canton one day?
I mean,
No.
I agree.
So his numbers are ahead of two guys who are, but you agree he won't be.
I don't
so
think-
there you go.
I think the subjective nature.
He was a
part of the
really
business,
good
right.
player, a great player.
Right.
But I don't know that he's a Hall of Fame player. Close. Right. I mean, close. But
Sure.
Eric Dickerson's in the Hall. Marshall Faulk's in the Hall. Jerome Bettis is in the Hall.
Yeah.
All former Rams
Will
running
Todd
backs.
Gurley make it to Canton eventually?
Well,
he's
he's got,
he's
you know,
got a
very
long way to
early.
go, but
Very early.
very
Always
early.
love watching
Look, man.
Eric Dickerson run the
Dickerson.
ball.
Not
Jackson's
too
got
early
some crazy
for
We
numbers,
should have
though.
put out some SMU film. Pony Express.
Pony
James
Express. We'll be back.